Here.
The US says it does not seek another war, but it will protect itself and respond appropriately following the drone attack that killed 3 American soldiers and wounded dozens near the Jordan-Syria border at a remote outpost called Tower 22. Since Israel's retaliation for the October the 7th attacks, US military bases in Syria and Iraq have been attacked more than 170 times. The group behind the deaths at the Tower 22 base, called Islamic Resistance in Iraq, are part of an Iranian-sponsored network across the Middle East. Known as the Axis of Resistance, there's a number of pro-Iranian militias based in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, the Palestinian territories and as far south as Yemen. All are opposed to Israel and the United States. From Washington, our North America editor Sarah Smith has the latest.
In the Situation Room, President Biden, with his defence secretary, is considering his military reaction. We're told he's weighing his options. He needs to retaliate, but without causing more conflict.
We do not seek another war. We do not seek to escalate. But we will absolutely do what is required to protect ourselves, to continue that mission, and to respond appropriately to these attacks.
Shortly after he learned of the attack yesterday, Mr. Biden vowed the US will respond.
And we shall respond.
Now he needs to decide what that response will be. His Secretary of State warning other actors not to get involved.
From the outset, we've been very clear in warning that anyone looking to take advantage of conflict in the Middle East and try to expand it, don't do it.
The US has not said which militia group it believes is responsible for the attack on their base in Jordan, or why the deadly drone was not intercepted. President Biden's opponents lay the blame on him and are demanding he target Iran itself in response. Senator Lindsey Graham wrote on X, "I'm calling on the Biden administration to strike targets of significance inside Iran, not only as a reprisal for the killing of our forces, but as deterrence against future aggression." The Senate's top Republican, Mitch McConnell, said, "The cost of failure to deter Americans' adversaries is again measured in American lives." And Donald Trump's response? Well, he claims, "This attack would never have happened if I was president."
This attack, or just like so much of Israel, Palestine, is directly his fault. And as always, the Democrats didn't do shit to fix it. But so much of it is directly his fault. Why? God, I hate this so much.
Not even a chance. In Tehran, the Iranian government denied involvement in the attack. A spokesman said the militias do not take orders from Iran. The 3 soldiers killed yesterday have been named as Specialist Brianna Moffett, Specialist Kennedy Sanders and Sergeant William Rivers. Their deaths will mark a new phase in America's role in the escalating tensions of the Middle East. So what are the options that President Biden is weighing up inside the White House? Well, he could redouble America's efforts to attack the Iranian-backed militias in the region who have been striking at US forces, but those have obviously so far failed to deter those groups from striking at Americans. A much more aggressive response would be to try to target the source of the Iranian missiles and drones that those groups are using. He could go after the Iranian Revolutionary Guard in positions in Iraq or Syria rather than in Iran itself, but even that would risk some kind of escalation from Iran. I mean, just as the US says it is not seeking war and it doesn't want conflict with Iran, it's pretty convinced that Tehran doesn't want some kind of direct conflict with Washington. But everybody knows they have to take great care in this delicate and dangerous situation.
Sarah, thank you. Lise Doucette is here with me in the studio. Lise, as well as focusing on how to respond to the deaths of its soldiers, the US is still trying to find ways to pause Israel's war in Gaza and bring home the remaining hostages held by Hamas, which is regarded as a terrorist organisation by many Western governments, including the UK. What can you tell us?
In the last hour, the US's top diplomat, Antony Blinken, that you heard in that report, said that the United States was very, very actively pursuing this. Now, we focused on these talks briefly last night here on the 10. What's new today is that there are new details provided by the Prime Minister of Qatar, which is playing a pivotal role in these discussions. And he said in Washington that they were now ready to present a framework to Hamas after a weekend of talks in Paris involving spy chiefs from Israel, the United States and Egypt. The Prime Minister spoke of good progress, he said, in achieving a ceasefire, which would allow some 100 hostages being held by Hamas in Gaza in exchange for thousands of Palestinian prisoners and the delivery of more aid. Now, it has to be said that today there's a less positive assessment from Israel, which spoke of significant gaps, unacceptable conditions, and one official vowing that Israeli troops won't leave Gaza until, in his words, complete victory. But Israel is under pressure to bring the hostages home, most of all from the families of the hostages. So while there are gaps, these crucial talks will go on.
You can't get me. The Pentagon press secretary says, I'm not aware of any U.S. force on the ground in Yemen, but the White House recently told Congress United States military personnel are deployed to Yemen to conduct operations. John Kirby goes mask off when asked if Biden is going to look at the American people for his decision making.
In his response, has authorization under Article 2. Does that mean that he's planning to bypass Congress in any matter of war in terms of this response?
You don't game? That's what you think. I've been gaming so crazy.
I'm not going to get ahead of his decision making. He has the authority under Article 2 as Commander-in-Chief. And as we have in the past, so we will in the future appropriately inform leaders in Congress about what we're doing in keeping with that authority.
Okay, so I just want to follow up because the president was sent a letter on Friday from a bipartisan group of lawmakers, and he had been accused of unauthorized strikes against the Houthis by bypassing Congress. They said no president, regardless of political party, has the constitutional authority to bypass Congress on matters of war. Do you think that that would apply here, given this escalation?
We're not at war with the Houthis. We're not looking for a war with Iran. The president is comfortable that he has the appropriate legal authorities to act in self-defense of our ships, our sailors, and our troops in our facilities at sea or shore.
Right. Isn't it time to involve the American people? I mean, given the fact that the American people were not happy about,
I suspect the American people are not happy about attacks on commercial shipping in the Red Sea. I also suspect they're not happy about seeing American troops killed at a base in Jordan. The president has the authority to defend those troops in those facilities, and he'll do that.
He's weighing all of his options. This is an election year. Is the president looking at his polling when he's weighing all of these options? Is the president looking at what?
My goodness. That's a heck of a question. He's not looking, ma'am, let me just stop you right there.
Let me finish my question.
Commander-in-Chief is not looking at polling or considering the electoral calendar when he's defending.
Oh, he's definitely not. Because if he was, he'd be like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't do this. This is like kind of dumb. Ma'am, that's one heck of a question. Yeah, well, he should be, actually, I think. Personally, I think he should be looking maybe a little bit. He's like, ma'am, you're so wrong. Biden is doing this because he's just nutty with it. There's not really any other reason. There's no rhyme or reason, if we're being for real, about the situation in Israel. We don't fully understand it. Well, except for me, John Kirby. I love what Biden is doing. But you know, a lot of people, ma'am, are calling what Biden is doing sicko mode. That's right. He is going full tilt. Doesn't matter. Pro-Israel unconditionally. Doesn't care if he loses an election. Doesn't even know that this is an election year, really. I mean, I've asked him. But let's get to Nancy Jebediah Pelosi, okay? I feel like foreign policy is its own entity, the empire, for sure. But even then, this transcends beyond that. Look at this. Whenever Biden hits a new low, the most common thing I see from Democrats is complaining about how it's the media's fault. But even if it was just that, why isn't a guy with 50 years of experience prepared for that? Isn't he supposed to be canny enough to avoid the usual pitfalls? Great question. Biden's job approval among ages 18 to 29 is right now sitting at a whopping 71% disapproval. It's funny because, like, when you look at the 2020 election, the demographics that turned out that gave Biden the victory, okay, aside from the usual voter patterns or the way that, like, certain votes swung, the ones that have consistently told the polls that they're probably not going to vote for Biden again are literally the 18 to 29, 18 to 35 in general. It's like it's the under 44, relatively younger voters that are that even before October 7. I'm talking about the what do you call it? The voter population in those demographics under the age of 35 especially have consistently stated that they don't know if they'll vote at all. So there's, like, I think it was 17% of the overall entire population of people that voted, that were voter eligible in 2020, that are currently in the who knows where we'll go camp. And those guys are usually very young voters. The Oibrovian Marxists, I'm not voting. Half the time when people say I'm not voting, they're just, like, not from America. It's so funny. It's always, it's my favorite pastime whenever someone says, like, yeah, I ain't voting for Biden. You can't make me. And then everybody goes like, fuck you, fucking kill yourself. Oh, I bet you want, I hope, Trump makes you, forcibly detains you and kills you or whatever. And then the poster would be like, I'm in Canada. I'm in Canada, so I can't really vote. Yeah, this guy's name is Oibrovian Marxist, okay? He's not voting for Joe Biden because he's probably British. Unless you mean, like, unless you mean that you were illegally voting for the Democrats reliably until this year. Listen, as a reliable illegal voter for the Democrats, I've decided this year I am not voting for the Democrats illegally. I'm not voting for them at all.
On what happens next, we spoke earlier to John Kirby, the National Security Council's coordinator, the White House's point of view about who is ultimately responsible for this, and that is the country of Iran. They're not hitting proxies of ours. They're hitting us. Are we going to hit them at last?
Again, I'm simply not going to get ahead of the president.
Do you not hear the way, dude, American media is so horny. They're literally like, I want death and destruction. I want murder. I want it so fucking bad. Are we going to fucking do it or not? I can't come. I want to come. This is the only way I can come. Please let me come. We need blood for the blood god. It's crazy.
President's decision space. We're not looking for a war with Iran. We're not looking for a conflict broader in the region. We're doing everything we can to try to take the tensions down. We will make the right decisions, the appropriate decisions to defend ourselves, our troops, and our facilities. But again, that decision rests with the commander-in-chief, and I'm not going to get ahead of where he is.
Admiral, respectfully, I know we're not looking for a war with Iran, but with 3 dead soldiers this morning, are we not already in one?
I would tell you that we are certainly mindful of the destabilizing behavior and actions of Iran and the way they support these groups, these militia groups in Iraq and Syria, Hamas, Hezbollah, the maritime attacks that they're permitting by the Houthis. We're mindful of the destabilizing behavior and the influence that they have in the region. Again, I'm not going to get ahead of the president and what he might decide or might not decide. We are not interested in a broader conflict in the region. We're not looking.
Fuck. Why is this blipping? I don't want the blipping. How do I? Oh God, it's gonna keep blipping. Fuck. It's not gaming. I'm talking to a fucking virtual assistant on the side. Jesus Christ. And now it is being annoying. Mute the tab? I can't mute it. It's like not a mutable tab. Wait, can I mute the tab? No, it's like a totally separate window, it seems. Oh, sound is automatic. Boom. All right, turn the sound off. Let's go. Never mind, it worked. AI girlfriend. It's not an AI girlfriend. Shut up. Wait, so like a sex bot? No, it's a... Shut up, chat. Shut up. No, it's a delivery thing, okay? Fuck. Yeah, I just turned off the sound.
Looking for another war, but we absolutely will do what we have to do to protect ourselves.
Admiral Kirby, thank you very much. Our thoughts, as yours are with the families of those 3 fallen.
A Fox News alert.
Hit him hard. Senator Graham urges Biden to hit Iran after killing a U.S. forces. Hell yeah, baby. Give him hell. Hit him hard. Was your AI girlfriend reminding you about the top of the hour? Fuck me. Why do I come on here just to suffer? Why? Because at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break, and it gives me a little bit of happiness to debate you, which I'm not able to now because you took that away from me. My little joy. How do you get baited by such short sentences? Because I read everything. I don't scan it. I guess the way I read it is I don't scan it. I don't even think about it when I'm reading it. That's why I sometimes read the dumbest questions. Owen Gila, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Allowing 5 people to no longer see the ads at the top of the hour. You too can avoid the ads at the top of the hour by subscribing for $5 or for free, or by getting gifted a sub. If you're lucky, use a 3-minute ad break now. If Biden doesn't start World War III in the next week, he must be impeached and put in prisons. Multiple prisons, not one. He must be put in prisons.
President Biden is promising a response after 3 U.S. troops were killed in a drone strike in Jordan. 38 others were injured in the attack carried out by Iran-backed militants, and the number is expected to rise. Jonathan Gilliam is a U.S. Navy SEAL and former FBI special agent, and he joins me now. Jonathan, good morning to you. This is an act of war, and it didn't come without warning. There have been 160 attacks on U.S. troops in the Middle East since mid-October. How does the president respond? This deserves to be more than just a 3-day.
This guy's, yeah, this is my guy. Like, I go to a duck hunter looking ass dude when I want to know about how hard we need to hit him.
Story.
Good morning, Carly and Todd. You're right. It does deserve to be more than just a 3-day story. But you just said it yourself. There's been over 160 attacks, and that's just in that area. That's not including the issues that we've had with the Houthis in the Red Sea. But what is the common denominator here is that either Biden and his administration either does nothing, or they do the rhetoric that they use is a proportionate and singular response. And so they will pick areas that they can carry out airstrikes on, but those airstrikes, by and large, do nothing to stop the head of the snake, which is Iran. And it doesn't matter if it's Hamas, Hezbollah, whoever is responsible for this particular attack, or the Houthis in the Red Sea. Iran backs these individuals regardless of Shia or Sunni ties, and they back them with money, weapons, and training because this is how they fight through proxy wars.
Yeah, and 3 families are going to get the worst news of their lives. And we will get these soldiers.
When someone says Iran is like our version of Hamas. When someone says Iran, when they hit the I, okay, the likelihood that they want to nuke the entirety of Iran gets extra high. It's super high, okay? There's two different ways of saying Iran in America, both of which is oftentimes as bloodthirsty. You either have the diaspora Iranian voice. They definitely want to nuke. They definitely want to glass Tehran. And then you have the Iran. Iran. They hit the hard I. It's like
pictures eventually, and then every single time we do, the story becomes even more real and more tragic. Senator Lindsey Graham says that the White House should take immediate and strong action, saying the Biden administration...
Yeah, the Arabs and Iran.
Can take out all the Iranian proxies they like, to your point, Jonathan, but it will not deter Iranian aggression. I am calling on the Biden administration to strike targets of significance inside Iran, not only as reprisal for the killing of our forces, but as deterrence against future aggression. Hit Iran now, hit them hard. What are the chances that the president surprises us and does something like that? And if not, what happens next?
I think the chance of the Biden administration doing something that aggressive is very unlikely, because it is, as we have seen historically, whether we're looking at Afghanistan, the way they deal with China, how they tried or did not or failed and didn't even attempt to stop Russia from crossing into the Ukraine. The Biden administration does not carry out any type of military operation that would threaten the Biden administration politically. So the chances are they're not going to do anything to Iran. And I'd like to say one other thing. Lindsey Graham is correct in what he's saying, but why does Lindsey Graham and all the other conservatives in Washington, D.C., why do they wait until Iran does something like this to go and take the leadership of Iran out, to take the military leadership out, or the generals? That's one thing Trump did. Trump did many things that were great, but the one thing that he did in relation to this was he took out that general when he was starting to maneuver in the same way, and that's what Iran understands. Yeah. They don't. They and their proxies will continue to do what they're doing unless they themselves are hit and hit hard. Yeah,
and there was recently memorial in honor of that General Qasem Soleimani in Iran, and there was a terror attack that took place during that memorial, and it turns out the United States warned Iran that something was going to happen, and this is the thanks we get. So that is another extension of this story. And, you know, Jonathan, just 2 weeks ago, President Biden...
Why didn't the media flip like this when the two SEALs died? Because they were conducting an operation, not sitting at a base. I think that's probably what it is. I would assume that that's their major reason. I don't know. I don't know how else to describe it other than that.